Hi, Sweet Peaches. This is just a quick video. I'm walking and talking, and my face is like right in the screen, and you can see like under my nose, and the captions are like covering my face. But I was walking, and I have to hold the phone a certain way so that you can't see literally everything. It's for my own privacy. So if you don't like the view up my nose, I'm sorry. If you don't like text across my face, I'm sorry. But I just wanted to share these thoughts while I was walking. And the TLDR is that, yes, I do think it's a powerful cross that Alessi did yesterday on the expert Burgess, and that he very likely may have created doubt in some people's mind about his credibility. And, you know, kudos for him for doing that. However, this video is about my thoughts about why it may not be the smoking gun or the, you know, big old whammy that the defense wants it to be, but it's really up to each juror's interpretation of it. Also, it's Tuesday, May 20th. It's 10:14 a.m. right now, Eastern Standard Time, and I have gotten into the habit of trying to wait until like 11 or a little later to even start getting into trial, because it is so long. There's so many pauses, there's so many sidebars, there's breaks, again, all of which are required and necessary, and I don't complain at all. I don't mind the breaks and the sidebars because I understand the legal purpose of it. However, when I'm viewing it, it's kind of boring when there's these huge breaks. So I like to start 2 or 3 hours behind, and then I can fast forward through all those breaks. So that's what I'm going to do today. And you know what? I did record a few little clips from yesterday. I might as well pop that on. I just like to show who the witnesses are. And if they have anything super important to say, I record that. But yesterday it was just like 7 minutes, I think. It was just recording the witnesses. Okay, enjoy. See you. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking the video. Don't forget to join me for free. You can subscribe. You can join me as a Patreon member for free, or you could be a paid member on YouTube and Patreon. And don't forget to check out my website, catlovedreamingpeach.com. Okay,
catlovedreamingpeach.com.
I'm walking home again. I dropped my car off at the mechanic again. So walking home from the mechanic, I just babbled on for about 4 minutes. Maybe I'll pop that on the end of this as a bonus or something. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll just delete it anyway. Hi. Hey, Sweet Peaches. Happy Tuesday. Walking home from the mechanic, and I thought I would just capture some thoughts about yesterday. This is a bumpy ride. So, of course, Emily D. Baker and Peter Tragos and the chats thought Alessi's destroying this Burgess guy, this so-called expert. And Alessi went in really, really hard on him about his CV and his LinkedIn, his resume somewhere else, the company website. So apparently there was like multiple places where it said he had a bachelor's degree, but he never got it. So I feel again that they're taking something that's factual and blowing it up to mega proportions. I mean, my opinion is that having a bachelor's degree, yeah, sure, that's great. That's a 4-year degree, or you could get work experience equivalent. This guy said he's been doing this for over 10 years. So what some people don't recognize for some bizarre reason is that real life work experience can be even more valuable than, what the fuck? Please hold. So I hope Lolly is going to clear it up. that like kind of what happened to me. I was going for my bachelor's, and you know, schooling is expensive, it's time consuming, and then I had a job. So I got to a point in my career, my educational career, my work career, where it was kind of at a crossroads, where it was like, I am learning a lot. Whoa. I'm learning real life experience, real life hands-on experience on the job, which is invaluable. And, you know, yeah, there's certain things that you just absolutely cannot bypass going to university. You know, I wouldn't want a surgeon to be like, oh, it's okay, I'm learning on the job. But even surgeons need hands-on, real-life job experience to get good. Like, I get it. There's certain things that you absolutely need the fundamental background, education, and you cannot, get around it. But there's certain kinds of expertise and jobs that actually sitting in a classroom learning something that might be even outdated is not the best way to get your education, especially when you're in a fast-moving, fast-changing, ever-evolving field of IT, internet security, and stuff like that. So, of course, it could just mean he's a fucking liar. He lied on his resume to get a job. He's unqualified. His opinions are crap. Oh, he's a liar. He made some typos. He made some minor calculation errors or something. Mislabeling or misreading or misreporting megabytes as something else, something like that. So, I mean, unless he did a good job of probably, at least in some people's minds, creating doubt as to whether or not he's credible. But again, like I was saying, a bachelor's degree, and you can often, very, very often, again, depending on the field, you can very often get much better experience actually on the job in real life with real world scenarios and variables than, sitting in a classroom learning something that might be outdated. Like when I first went to university, I started to study graphic design. And I'm so old that when I got to the class, I couldn't fucking believe it. There wasn't a single computer. I was like, graphic design. And the teacher informed us that graphic design existed long before computers. And we weren't there to learn on the computer. We were there to learn the fundamentals of graphic design. And I really did appreciate that. But at the same time, I really wanted to learn computer graphic design. So ultimately I didn't finish because I was working, and I was working a full-time job. I had to commute like 45 minutes each way, and I didn't have time to go to school late at night and do homework and all that stuff. And the fact of the matter was, I didn't feel that what I was learning at the school and university was a better education than the hands-on job experience. So it's like, okay, I could pay money to go sit somewhere doing assignments, trying to teach me something that's kind of outdated now. Or I could go to my job and get paid and learn real life experience while getting paid. And it was a financial decision. If I had somebody supporting me, like my parents, who were like, no, it's fine. You can go to school, finish your education. No, but I had to pay rent. And then I moved out because I had a very stressful home life. And so I moved out and I had to support myself. And going to university was like a luxury. I didn't have a luxury of paying all this money to go take classes so I could get that little piece of paper when I literally already had a job that was teaching me real life stuff. And I have excellent computer skills, and I'm an expert in various programs, and I learned all of that real world hands-on experience on the job, 25 plus years working with real people in real life scenarios, with real employees, with real clients, with real data, real marketing scenarios, all of that. So anyway, my whole point is, just because somebody was pursuing their bachelor's degree and then life took them on a different path because they were working instead, like, you see that? It's pretty. You know, like, does that really disparage everything that he said and did because he worked for his experience instead of getting it at a university? And again, it's only very, very often equivalent experience and more learned on the job. And again, he's doing like IT or computers or programs, and like the kind of thing that he's learning or doing, it updates every couple of months. Every month there's an update. So it does make sense that he would learn on the job. However, all that being said, he definitely took a hit for credibility, and I would guarantee that there's going to be a few people on that jury who are going to take it seriously. You know, another thing Alessi was doing, like, this CV's not even updated, and he was like, well, I don't update that. That's like the company websites, like somebody else does that. He's like, this hasn't been updated in 7 years. And he's like, correct. And I'm like, okay, is it really that much of an own? It's like, okay, you were pursuing something many years ago, but then you took a different path and you never went back and updated that thing. Yeah, maybe it means you're dishonest and deceitful and you're a liar and that you got no credibility and your opinion is shit. And maybe the jury will just toss out his opinion because of all of that. But, however, I don't believe that what that guy was testifying to is a make or break. I know that Alessi fought like crazy to keep Burgess out. He was so pissed. He was like, you're changing everything. You're changing the whole entire case. I thought he was going to ask for a mistrial based on that. So I'll be honest, I was busy working, so I didn't like listen very deep and intently to what the guy Burgess was saying. I know it has something to do with the exact time that she apparently hit him. And, you know, I think it's really gonna come down to what do people really believe? I mean, yes, of course it's true. All of these little minor details, they mean so much. Like I said, one of them, an actual like one piece of evidence that could be like a make or break for me is the plastic pieces in his shirt. Like, okay, that just seems like a really smoking gun to me. And again, I saw somebody say it in a comment, the exact sentiment that I shared, which is Yes, Trooper Proctor did a bad thing. He said some really gross texts. Like it's gross to say rude and nasty texts about people, especially when you're a fucking trooper, state trooper, and you're doing a murder investigation. And you're calling the suspect whatever gross things you're saying, and that's terrible and wrong and bad, and you should get fired for that. But to make such a leap, an A to Z leap, without all the fucking alphabet soup in the middle of he said some bad texts, and then to jump from that to, and therefore he planted evidence against an innocent woman to frame her for a murder. Like, whoa. That's a fucking quantum leap of epic proportions with no evidence. So, yeah, Trooper Proctor deserved to be fired. Trooper Proctor was unprofessional as fuck, immature and gross. But there's just no evidence that he busted her taillight and fucking Salt Bae sprinkled it on the lawn. John's hat was literally stuck to the grass and the snow and ice on the lawn. This shoe, something smells good. It smells like my mom's perfume. You know, so those are my thoughts about yesterday. And Jay, thank you, Jay, for that comment about Alan Jackson saying that John and Karen got out of the car, got out of the SUV when they got to the house. And he did say that, but I don't know what that means. I wonder, did John throw the glass at the taillight and that shattered it, and then she hit him? Did she hit him and that made the glass fly? I don't know. I guess I should get more into Burgess's testimony and really do a deep dive. I'm home. Well, out of the shower, wet hair. I'm listening to today's trial, and Alessi is kind of ripping Burgess apart, I have to say. He now pointed out that Burgess had January 30th on the accurate down to the second slides instead of the 29th. So again, whether or not what Burgess said is accurate is definitely now in question, because he's sloppy, and that much is clear. I mean, if you were to go pull up some old thing of mine, some old website, you're definitely going to find some outdated things. And I haven't updated my resume on various places, and my LinkedIn is actually outdated. And in fact, I couldn't even figure out how to take the background that I used to have on, which I still have on. I couldn't figure out how to change it anymore. So it's like this old background that I didn't want anymore. But I'm not an expert witness testifying to something. If I was, could I be an expert witness testifying to something and still have some other things that are like kind of iffy? Yes, but when you have actual typos, like the date, this is supposed to be accurate to the second, but you have the date wrong. So, I feel like whatever he has to say, the impact is going to get lost because of his sloppiness. And why didn't he take it more seriously? They fought so hard to get this fucking guy in just so he could fucking blow up and look sloppy and not credible. And then everything he has to say, instead of it being this like slam dunk for the Commonwealth, it's like a slam dunk for the defense. So that sucks, but this is part of trial. So I can't believe it. It's 1:35 p.m. and I didn't start watching until like 11:30, and I've already caught up. I caught up because I fast forwarded through all the sidebars, all the breaks. I fast forwarded through lunch, or actually they might be at lunch now. That might be the problem. And one thought I had made while I was listening to Alessi further question Burgess was, he also had pointed out that Burgess had made a typo. He was asking him, is this accurate to the second? Is this accurate to the second? And I was like, oh, I know he's going to show something. And then after he went through like 5 slides of that, he was like, did this occur on January 30th, 2022? And it was January 29th, 2022. So he had yet another typo. So it does appear, let me see if I can scooch over so I can get some text going over here. It does appear as if he's kind of sloppy. But, so there was that. And then what's funny about watching a little late is that I can see the live chat comments going before I get to, what is that? I can see the live chat going, so I could see people commenting while I was still listening to Alessi cross-examine Burgess. I could see people like, give it up, Hank, give it up, Hank. And then a couple of people like, yeah, Hank, you got this, and stuff like that. So I was like, okay. And what Hank Brennan ended up doing was exactly what I thought he was going to do, which was, he said, when did you make that LinkedIn? When did you make that LinkedIn account? And it was like over 10 years ago. When you got hired at Aperture, did you set up the information about you on their website? No. Do you know where they got that information from? No. Did they get it from your LinkedIn? I'm not sure. Then he showed a resume, a CV that he had submitted to them in 2024. He said, does it say on this that you have your bachelor's degree? And it said, no, I'm pursuing it. Then he had submitted another one in 2025. He said, does this say that you have your bachelor's? And he said, no, it says I'm pursuing it. Then there was somebody in the chat who said something exactly like I said on my walk, which was, I was pursuing a bachelor's degree, but then I got a job. And then because of the time, the commute, the work involved, getting up early, getting home late, having bills to pay, having a car and an apartment, and having to, because I had moved out from my parents' house and I got a full-time job. So instead of being a student living at home, going to school, or somebody, who's wealthy and could afford to live on campus, I had to move out at a young age and get my own job, support myself. So when I had to weigh the is this going to actually benefit me to continue paying for these classes and taking this, to get this bachelor's degree, but I'm already working in a field, I'm already getting hands-on real world experience. My skills in school are just not going to advance me further at that time, because I wasn't pursuing the type of career that required a degree. So then Brennan asked him, basically, to paraphrase, he's got multiple certifications. He's got over 700 hours of study, and he's got over 10 years of experience. So while it's true that some people not having a degree could be a big problem, the way that Alessi, the defense, was trying to frame it, like, you're a liar, you lied that you had this and you don't, and all this stuff, I don't think it's as big of a deal as Alessi tried to make it seem in any way, because, and Brennan asked him, do you have to have a bachelor's degree to be able to do, the job that you're doing? And he said no. So, the comment that I saw somebody said was, they know people who were pursuing a bachelor's degree and then they got a job, and then after they were hired in the job, they kind of stopped doing the pursuing of the school. Sometimes people get a degree because they want to have a specific career, and in order to get that specific career, you have to have this very specific education, and you have to have your bachelor's degree in order to get to the next level. If you're going to get your master's degree, you can't get a master's degree without a bachelor's degree. So if you have a particular field of study or a particular career that is absolutely tied to a mandatory degree, then you have to do that, and there's no way around it. And if you lie and say you have it, or what he actually did, if you say that you're pursuing it and then for whatever reason you do not continue to pursue it, like in his case, potentially he already had a job and he was getting hands-on training, and he had, there, like, one of the reasons why I stopped, like I said, I had a job and I had very limited time and I had limited money because, yes, I had a job, but I had a lot of bills to pay. So paying for schooling became less of a priority. And what I determined was, because I am not looking for a very specific kind of job, like, I'm not going to be a surgeon, I'm not going to be a lawyer where you have to study, you have to pass the bar, you cannot be a lawyer if you don't have those things. But there are a lot of jobs and careers where that's just simply not true. So what I decided to do was to pursue kind of like what it seems that Burgess did, which is to, instead of paying a university for this 2-year or 4-year degree where you have a lot of mandatory classes that you have to take in order to get that degree, but they are not necessarily anything that you need to know personally. It's not going to actually advance your career per se. It's just it's a mandatory class, which I understand. When you have a degree, you have various classes that you have to get to in order to get X amount of credits in order to get that degree. But that whole system is also set up for people who have either an intense, passionate, burning desire, and that's what they want to do, so they do it, and or they have the money to do it, or they have a lifestyle where they're able to do it. Some people go to school full-time and they work full-time and they're supporting themselves and children, etc., etc., and even sometimes like other family members. I understand that. I personally didn't make that choice for myself. I wasn't built that way. People who are capable of working full-time, supporting their family, raising children, helping elder family members or whatever, and special needs people, and getting a full-time education while working full-time. I don't know how they are able to do that. That is so beyond the scope of what I'm capable of. Those people are built better. I don't know. They're just like, they're driven. They are amazing. And I know there's a lot of people who do that. That just was not it for me. And the fact of the matter is that the kind of career that I was pursuing did not require that I had to have a bachelor's degree. And there are lots of jobs where the bachelor's degree or even the 4-year degree can easily be replaced with experience. And that's what I always went with. I said, I started working very young. I had a lot of experience, behind me. I was self-taught. I jumped in, self-starter, hit the ground running, all those cliches. And so there were plenty of times where there was a job that said, degree required, and I would apply, and I had no issue saying, well, I didn't sit in a, I didn't sit in a university for 4 years. I was busy doing the work, learning, like I said on my walk, real life skills, real data, real situations, real crises, real examples, real reports, real presentations, real customers, real clients. And often that is the best. Yes, education is so important, and it can be a great basis for various things, and certain things, like I said countless times, some things you cannot get around the education. Sometimes you can. Sometimes there's an artist or a musician who is like classically trained, and they've gone through all those classes and the prerequisites, and they got the degrees and all that stuff. But yet somebody who is pure, raw talent and passion and experience can outshine them in every way. And there's people who have raw talent who are completely outshined by somebody who is driven by the desire to do it because they have passion. They might not have raw talent, but they have a burning passion, and so that motivates them to keep learning and learning and learning. My point is that there are so many ways that people can be experts in a field, and that their information is invaluable and highly, highly important. So I was trying to follow along with like, what is the data that he's trying to put forth? And it's really like just a variance of about 20 some seconds between Karen Reed's Lexus clock and John's iPhone clock. And I mean, for me, if it's off by 20 seconds, I thought that she hit him. I think that she hit him. I don't think it matters for my deliberations about did she hit him 20 seconds earlier or 20 seconds later. It's not going to change for me the fact that I think that she could have gotten from 34 Fairview Road back to One Meadows Drive within that 4 or 5 minute slot. I think she could have been speeding. I think she could have run a red light or a stop sign. I think that there was nobody on the road, and that it's possible. I mean, I already did the Google Maps, directions. And so for me, that 20 seconds is not a make or break. I'm not really sure what they were trying to achieve with that information. And I will say that the fact that Alessi spent like a day and a half pulling apart whether or not this guy has a degree or not, and he made a couple of typos, and it's just like he conflated it, and it's like, okay, so it's like, is this guy completely lacking credibility and he's a liar and he doesn't even have any experience and all this stuff? Or is it like, yet again, you snagged on the, oh, he made a typo. Oh God, typos are bad, but does that like completely invalidate everything you've done because there was a typo? No, I've made typos before. I had a guy fucking yell at me because I had a typo, even though I fixed it before I even sent it out. And it's like, you had a typo. It's like, okay, but we caught it and we fixed it. So people are not robots. Even fucking robots make a lot of goddamn mistakes. You use ChatGPT and they make crazy mistakes. So does that, because somebody made a typo, does that invalidate their ability to analyze and totally shred their credibility? That's a question that every single juror has to ask themselves personally for every single witness and every bit of evidence or so-called evidence. Every word of testimony, every expression of opinion, every expert's perspective, they have to individually weigh it. They have to compare and contrast. And then, some people are going to find him incredibly credible and think like a typo here or there is like no big deal. And then other people might be like someone in the chat, like, well, the fact that he said that thing, or had that typo, that to me, I'm not going to listen to a single thing he said. Every single word this man said has lost credibility because of that. And then there's people who are going to be in the middle, like, well, it's not great to have typos, but we are human. And, what's the gist of what he's showing? The data is there. So do you believe the data? Do you believe in his interpretation of the data? And again, does it ultimately really matter? Because it's like, in this case, it's not a matter of like 20 seconds can make or break the case. It's a matter of, do you believe that she hit him or not? Like in the Alec Murdaugh, he was back at the house at a certain amount of time. Like they've had some like exact timing of like those people, his wife and son, they were shot at like this time. And so what he was trying to say was like, well, I was in the house and I couldn't hear anything. But his son, the one who died, who got murdered, and him had been out looking at some trees or something, and unbeknownst to Alec Murdaugh, his son had made a little Snapchat video. And then the son had a friend come over to pick up his dog, or I think he needed to come get the dog. So he took a little video of the dog, and unbeknownst to Alec, that's loud. Helicopter? Oh, that seemed like it was right there. So Paul had like been recording the dog. He was in the barn or the stables or whatever you call it. He had been recording himself showing the dog, and his dad, not knowing that he was saying something in the background, getting recorded. And that little clip that Paul took right before he was murdered by his own fucking father was one little piece of evidence that proved that Alex Murdaugh was outside right around there at the time. And so it was so powerful. It was so important to prove where Alec was. Okay. And anyway, I just said all that because there are cases where 2 seconds could make the difference. However, I just feel from all of the evidence and everything that we've learned about so far with Karen Read, I don't think the 27 seconds makes a big difference in the analysis. And maybe for some people, they're like, well, she couldn't have got home that 20 seconds. She couldn't have got back to John's. But she reconnected to John's Wi-Fi on her Lexus at 12:36 and some seconds. But Garino, Trooper or Sergeant Garino, had said that you can reconnect to that to your house Wi-Fi like 350 feet away from it, which is like half a block away. So again, I think it's totally feasible that she was. I think it's feasible because I think it's what happened. And I think that those 20 seconds are so desperately important to Alessi because he's doing everything he can to deflect, to conflate, and to try to prove that, it didn't happen through these very weird little hanging chads, a little hanging chad that he wants to snag, and, like I said, a little dingleberry that he's like, oh, there it is, and there's smear shit everywhere, and the confused people deflect, conflate, redirect, make people doubt. I mean, that's all they really have, is trying to create doubt everywhere because the facts don't look good for Karen. These are the clips that I screen recorded from day 18. I'm not totally sure if there's any duplicate sections.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All persons having anything to do before the Honorable Beverly Cannoni, the Justice of the Superior Court, holding in Dedham within and for the County of Norfolk. Draw near, give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This court is in session. Please be seated.
May I call the case, Your Honor, please? For the record before the court is Commonwealth versus Karen Reed, 22 CR 117. The parties are present. Our 18 jurors are present. The matter is on for trial.
Thank you. Good morning, counsel. Good morning, Ms. Reed. Good morning, jurors. We appreciate you here, ready, willing, and able to get started early, so we're happy about that. Thank you. I do have to ask you those questions. Were you all able to follow my instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left here on Friday? Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Were you also able to follow the instructions and refrain from doing any independent research or investigation into this case? Yes. Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left on Friday? Everyone said no or shook their heads. Thank you. Mr. Brennan, your next witness, please. Or Mr. Lally.
Thank you. Your Honor, the Commonwealth will call Nicholas Bradford to stand.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give to the court and the jury in the matter now pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Lally, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Would you please introduce yourself to the jury, spelling your last name for the court?
Yep, my name is Nick Bradford, Bradford.
What do you do for work, sir?
I'm a DNA expert for Bodhi Technology
And where is Bodhi Technology located?
in Lorton, Virginia.
And where did you go to school, sir?
I went to school at Mercier's College in Erie, Pennsylvania for a
Lally, your next witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The Commonwealth will call Carl Miyasako to stand.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give to the court and the jury in the matter now pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Good morning.
Go ahead, Mr. Lally.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury, spelling your last name for the court?
Carl Miyasako, Miyasako.
And what do you do for work, sir?
I'm a senior DNA analyst at a forensic laboratory called Bodhi Technology,
And where is Bodhi Technologies located?
Lorton, Virginia.
And where did you go to school?
Virginia Commonwealth. With mitochondrial DNA, you can't.
Okay.
The genetic data obtained from the known reference sample of John O'Keefe. I could not exclude John O'Keefe as being a possible source of the hair sample. In addition, all maternally related individuals could not be excluded as being a source of the hair sample.
Another way of saying that, Mr. Miyasako, is to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, you cannot say that hair belonged to John O'Keefe specifically, can you? Yes or no?
No, with mitochondrial DNA, you can't
Okay.
say that it is per se an individual person, so it's more so the maternal line.
Because the hair could have come from his mom, it could have come from his maternal nephew, or anybody in his maternal line, correct?
Correct. If
Okay.
they also had access to that stuff, then yeah.
For instance, access to that stuff, meaning if his maternal nephew lived in the home with him, where the SUV was stored, It's just as reasonable if the hair came from him, correct?
Sustain.
Peggy O'Keefe, John's mom, shaking her head in disgust
Your analysis
at
does
Alan
not tell us-
Jackson. And I agree with her. I do.
Your analysis does not tell us when the hair got to where it was found, correct?
Correct.
Your analysis does not tell us how the hair got to where it was found, correct?
Correct.
And mitochondrial DNA does not reveal anything about the hair's color or age or texture, nothing like that.
Not on the analysis. Can't be excluded as a source of the evidence.
Thank you, sir. Nothing further.
One final question, Your Honor. Do you also maintain that 95% confidence that Dave's nephew?
Yeah, so again, with maternal populations.
Finish your answer. Go.
With maternal populations, I can't exclude anybody maternally related to John O'Keefe as well.
Thank you very much, sir. You are all set. Who is the Commonwealth's next witness?
Commonwealth's next witness is Shannon Burgess.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give to the court and the jury in the matter now pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, Mr. Brennan, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jurors, spell your last name for the court reporter?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Shannon Burgess, last name Burgess.
Mr. Burgess, what do you do for a profession?
Sure. So I'm a digital forensics examiner. So I investigate digital devices to see what evidence they may record or hold.
Do you specialize in any type of forensic?
Investigate digital devices to see what evidence they may record or hold.
Do you specialize in any type of forensic analysis?
Sure. So digital forensics is kind of a broad field, but I do specialize in vehicle forensics and cell phone forensics.
How long have you been a digital forensic analyst for?
Sure. So I've been a digital forensic analyst for approximately 10 years.
Day 19 clips that I screen recorded.
Morning.
Girl, why is she making a little pirouette? What the F? That's funny.
Were you all able? Good morning, counsel.
Within and far. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye, all persons having anything to do before the Honorable Beverly Cannoni, the Justice of the Superior Court holding in Dedham, within and far the County of Norfolk. Draw near, Give your attendance and you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. This court is in session. Please be seated.
Good morning, counsel. Good morning, Ms. Reed. Good morning, jurors. So I have to ask you those same three questions. Were you all able to follow my instructions and refrain from discussing this case with anyone since we left yesterday? Yes. Everyone said yes or nodded affirmatively. Were you also able to follow my instructions and refrain from doing any independent research or investigation into this case? Yes. Everyone said yes and nodded affirmatively. Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case since we left yesterday? No. Everyone said no or shook their heads. Thank you. May we have Mr. Burgess, please?
So I'll remind you, you're still under oath. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, Mr. Alessi, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Morning, Mr. Burgess.
Morning.
On your direct examination yesterday, your
Text stream data in Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Yes, there was. So we can't say, we can pinpoint approximately when the 3-point turn ends based on the GPS data. But best practice would be to use a range of time. So the range we're using is the time that the 3-point turn starts to the time that the 3-point turn ends.
Could we have from Mr. Burgess's PowerPoint number 41, please? Is this part of your presentation helpful in explaining the beginning and end point of that 3-point turn?
It does. It does. So if you recall yesterday, the first heading change from a general north heading is depicted by that green shading circle.
Could you use your pointer, please?
Sure, yes.
Ms. Gilman, can you enlarge just a little bit?
So again, this green circle is going to be the center of this circle is going to be the GPS point itself. That's going to be centered on the horizontal radius, which is the accuracy. So the green circle represents the 16-foot accuracy zone. The black arrow coming off in a northwestern direction is going to be the heading for that point. And then again, the yellow is going to be the approximately 8 seconds later when the heading changes again in a southerly direction, and then the GPS points after that also continue south with increasing speed.
What part of the 3-point turn event does the green circle signify?
Sure, so that's going to be the approximate beginning of the 3-point turn.
And that time?
That's going to be 12:23:59.
The yellow circle, what part of the 3-point turn does that indicate?
Sure, so that's going to be approximately the end of the 3-point turn, and that time is going to be 12:24:07.
Is there any correlation between the times in the green, the time difference?
Beginning of the 3-point turn.
And that
continue south with increasing speed.
What part of the 3-point turn event does the green circle signify?
Sure, so that's going to be the approximate beginning of the 3-point turn.
And that time?
That's going to be 12:23:59.
The yellow circle, what part of the 3-point turn does that indicate?
Sure, so that's going to be approximately the end of the 3-point turn, and that time is going to be 12:24:07.
Is there any correlation between the times in the green, the time difference between the green and yellow circle, and the range you ultimately arrive at as far as the synchronization variance?
Yes, so that is what determines that range of 21 to 29 seconds.
This illustration or diagram where you've put the green circle, is that based on actual data?
Yes, that is based on actual data recorded by Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone.
That data, is it accurately reflected in this diagram?
Yes, it is. So again, the GPS point that is recorded within the iPhone, every point has a horizontal accuracy. And again, that horizontal accuracy is depicted by the green circle.
Is that level of precision used when you create this diagram?
Yes, it is.
The yellow circle, is that specifically reflected in the data, or is that an estimate?
Sure. So that's specifically reflected in the data. So that is another GPS position that has been recorded by the iPhone. Again, with a horizontal accuracy, a timestamp, and a speed and heading.
How about the orange circles?
So the orange circles are are portions of the GPS positions leading up to this event. So if we went back one slide, you would see, it would zoom out, obviously, so a little bit harder to see. But essentially what we've done is I've removed the other orange circles representing GPS points heading north and the GPS points heading south after the 3-point turn. And I've just removed those for clarity to kind of clean up the map so it's easier to read.
On the left, text stream 11621. Remind us again where that information comes from?
Sure. So that's the text stream. That's the end of the text stream event for the 3-point turn. And that is based on the infotainment clock as well as that running timer from the airbag control module.
Does this diagram reflect the data that you reviewed to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty?
Yes, it does.
In breaking down this timestamp 154 and getting into the minute detail of when it started and ended, one of your charts, does it also show it numerically?
Yes, it does.
Can we have number 40, please? Before we discuss this again, numerically,
Yes, it does.
can we have number 40, please? Before we discuss this again, where did you get the information to put in this chart?
Sure. So this is coming from Mr. O'Keefe's iPhone. Specifically, it's coming from a SQLite database that is recording locations as he's using the Waze app to navigate.
Is the information in this chalk or diagram directly from the data?
It is directly from the data.
Is this accurate to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty?
Yes, it is.
If we could zoom in just a little, we'll have to go left to right, Ms. Gilman. We start with the left. Timestamp 154. At what point in that 3-point turn does 154 represent on the left?
Yeah. So timestamp 12:23:58 or GPS point 154 is approximately 1 second before we see the heading change. If we could zoom out just a little bit. A little bit more. Yep. So we see the heading change represented in green. Work and currently pursuing.
Why did that time as far as your degree?
That I would complete my degree in 2024.
When you didn't complete your degree in 2024 as you expected, did you then change your CV
Yes, I did.
to accurately reflect the change in your status?
Yes, I did.
And what did you change it to?
Currently pursuing.
Why didn't you finish your degree in 2024?
Sure. So
No, I'm going to allow it.
as most people can probably relate, work, family, and life many times get in the way. So as a personal objective, I would like to finish my bachelor's, but again, work and life gets in the way.
Did you ever represent to a court that you had a degree that you didn't earn?
No, I have not.
He asked you a number of questions about this 2023 filing, but didn't ask you any questions about the data. Does your opinion regarding the data change in any way in light of his questions about a 2023 filing that you didn't file and someone filed on your behalf?
Objection, Your Honor.
The objection is sustained. I'm going to strike that question.
Okay. No further questions.
All right, Mr. Burgess, you are all set.
Thank you.
Mr. Brennan?
Your Honor, I'd like to play a number of clips. If I could begin with clip 23.
approach from the north, we actually missed the turn. And John says to me, it's Fairview, we just passed it. It's back there. It's on my left. I said, all right. So I pull nose into a driveway and back out onto the street, which I now own as Cedar Crest, and then come from the north onto Fairview.
Like the next play, clip 25.
At 12:41, I leave a voicemail to John. You can clearly, and this will probably be played on Monday, you can clearly hear me pull into John's garage. You can hear my car sensors beeping as I come close to the sides of the garage truck. And then you hear the car go off, and then you hear the slight ding, ding, ding as I open the door, shut the door. I had high heels on that night. You hear me walk in, go into the stairs up into the kitchen, shut the door. You hear me walk in the kitchen. It's like a full minute long. That's at 12:41.
And finally, clip 24.
I do. I mean, I'll tell you, John and I argued the morning of the 28th, Friday morning. So we think he died right around 12:25, 12:30 on the earlier morning of January 29th.
Thank you. I have these for submission into evidence, Ron.
194.
The next witness, Mr. Allen.
Yes, Your Honor. Call Ms. Christina Hanley to the stand.
Step up, face the clerk, and raise your right hand.
You solemnly swear the evidence given before the jury in the case now and here is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Good afternoon. All right, Mr. Lally, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury, spelling your last name for the court?
Sure. I'm Christina Hanley. Hanley is Hanley.
And Ms. Hanley, what do you do for work?
I am a forensic scientist 3 at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Laboratory in the Trace Arson and Explosives Unit.
And where did you go to school?
I went to, I had received my Bachelor of Science in Chemistry with the concentration in forensics from Merrimack College.
And do you have any other degrees?
I do not.
So, jurors, it's been a long day, so we're going to stop for the day. Ms. Hanley, I'm going to ask you to come back tomorrow, but a little bit later in the day, and we'll get to the time for the jury. All right, so folks, we're going to end for today. Please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard it and let us know, and watch your social media use. Thank you. So, Ms. Hanley, after the jury,
All rise for the court, please. No one follow me.
Goodbye.
I brought my car to the mechanic last week. Sorry, it's kind of shaky. Last week I dropped my car off because it was like a moldy smell in there, especially when it rains. So I wanted him to get a new cabin filter, which he was like, oh, it looked really new. And I even had said to him, I got one like 8 months ago, but it smells really bad. It's probably holding in those bad smells. And just replace it anyway, even if it looks new, because of the smell. And so when I went to pick it up, he was like, oh, it looks so new, I didn't change it. And I'm like, what the fuck? He said he did Lysol treatment, and I'm walking by the house. The lighting is so bad. Walking by the house my dad lived in for many years. Moved in when he was 13. Fortunately, I was there probably when I was an infant. Anyway, so, it really annoyed me because, like, I like how he goes out of his way not to charge people more than necessary. But I had literally asked him to do it. And I even had said, even if it doesn't look like it needs it, just do it. And he was like, no. So I was like, it still smells. So I said, I'm going to bring it back, and I want you to change the filter. So he said he could potentially get like a charcoal filter. And then anyway, when I pulled away, like the next day my oil light came on, needing an oil change. And I was like, the fuck? I mean, he doesn't check for shit you don't ask him to do. But, I didn't realize, like, oil, you change the oil if you reached a certain amount of mileage, or if a certain amount of time passes. And I kept only looking at the mileage, and it's like $4,000 miles less than needing one. But I was 4 months over. Actually, it was only 3 months over. I just saw a cute little dog that actually looked like a cat. Anyway, so I'm walking home from the mechanic, and he's gonna check that out and a few other things for me. I really do like him, actually. I'm gonna just show that. Let's see. You see it? Oh my God. A peony bush? Oh my God, it's so beautiful. Peonies on a bush? So fucking pretty. That's pretty. Fucking pretty. Really pretty. Anyway. CatLoveDreamingPeach.com